Meanwhile, getting back to this issue of the international situation, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is saying that Turkey could invoke NATO's Article 4 over border tensions with Syria. Somebody on the Syrian side of the Turkish border is shooting across the border into Turkey. Now, again, common sense. Why would Syria do such a stupid thing? Or are we looking at more of these agents provocateurs trying to create a crisis to justify another imperial invasion of another nation that Israel does not like? It doesn't make sense that anybody in Syria is going to be firing at Turkey at this particular time in history. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But here's the part that really kind of bothered me. Because you remember when Israel attacked that Turkish ship in international waters and gunned down those unarmed Turkish aid workers, plus one more from the United States of America? I don't remember the United States government suggesting to Turkey that they take Israel to task using NATO's Article 4. Because remember, when you attack a ship in international waters, you are attacking the sovereign territory of the nation whose flag flies over that ship. So somebody in Syria is shooting into Turkey. Israel shot into Turkish territory and killed Turkish citizens. And we didn't see, the Secretary of State running up to NATO and saying, invoke Article 4, invoke Article 4. Israel has committed a crime against you. So this isn't about Syria, and it isn't even about, it's not about Turkey, and it's not about what's happening to Turkey. It's just another excuse to try and create an excuse for a war in Syria that you, the American sheeple, will fall for. Except you won't. They know that you know they're lying, but they're going to go through the motions so that when they start murdering more people under the red, white, and blue, that you'll sit there and say, oh, all right, I guess we'll go along one more time here. Now, there's a little bit of a backlash from that attack on the aid flotilla. Turkey is saying that Israel's not welcome at this NATO summit that's going to be in Chicago unless and until they apologize for the killing of those Turkish activists in a raid on that Turkish-flagged ship in international waters. So the tension is building up over there. And again, if Turkey is at such odds with Israel, why would Syria be shooting at them? Remember, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Why would Syria be shooting at Turkey? They're not. By the way, in a BBC interview, a representative of the Saudi government has admitted these so-called Syrian protesters have had weapons all along. Somebody sent guns in there, said, start shooting, and we will come in and invade and make you the new government. We have a caller on the line, Alex in New Jersey. Aloha, Alex. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. What's going on? I just wanted to weigh on a few things. What's going on over there in Turkey, along the border there. I was listening to Aaron Klein on ABC over the weekend, and he's a conservative investigative reporter, totally pro-Israel. He was actually broadcasting live from Israel. And what he was explaining is that they have Turkey actually had launched a series of stage attacks against Syria, and the Turkey army is actually provoking Syria into an armed conflict over there. And like you said, they're trying to invoke NATO to get the rest of the people over there. But it's unfair to say that Syria is launching attacks against Turkey. He was reporting live. He said he got reports from Syrian officials that the Turkey military was mobilizing along the border, and it came after the Turkey army had attacked. And the other thing is that Turkey is providing the rebels over there, the terrorist rebels. You can't call them protesters; they're terrorists, with bases to launch attacks and mount.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. We know there are agent provocateurs with weapons provided by the U.S. and Israel inside Syria, firing in all directions. Does it not make sense that the people who are inside Turkey shooting back over the border are also agents provocateurs? Again, it doesn't make any sense that there's friction between Turkey and Syria in the face of the common enemy of a U.S. and an Israeli invasion. Okay, so this feels like divide and conquer. And remember, a lot of times what we get from these media reports, especially since this guy was broadcasting, you said he was broadcasting from Israel? Is it possible is it possible he was being fed bad information? Oh yeah, the Turks are doing it, the Syrians are doing it, and it's like get this argument going who's behind it all, so you don't say, maybe this is a third party going in and causing trouble. Which we recognize. That's how they're doing all this stuff. Send in agent provocateurs. We know that the U.S. is maintaining a base in Kuwait where they're training these so-called terrorists on how to cause disruptions to society and build a coup d'etat. They infiltrate them into these countries to cause trouble, and then they say, we must humanitarianly invade, and in the name of humanitarianism, we will take control of their oil and their gas and their electricity and their water and their gold, and we will give them a private central bank as a going-away present. And so, at this point, it doesn't make sense for Turkey and Syria to be gunning at each other when they both face a common enemy. This is somebody trying to cause the illusion of trouble between Syria and Turkey to justify further military intervention, and it doesn't make sense. I'd be willing to wager a plugged Turkish piaster that the people doing the actual shooting along the Syria and Turkish border are CIA and Mossad or graduates of this terrorism school the U.S. is running in Kuwait. It just doesn't make any sense that they would be fighting each other when they're both facing a common enemy called Israel and the United States of America. Now, Tehran has boasted that it has reverse engineered that U.S. spy drone that crashed on their soil, and it is building a perfect copy, and they're obviously the technology of that drone, which cost the American taxpayers untold millions and billions of dollars, is now being provided, I'm sure, to Russia and China, who will now be able to build the same spy drones without having to soak their people for the same amount of money. And all because we had to make Israel happy and go in and cause trouble for the Iranians here. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Benjamin Netanyahu is basically launching a political attack on the six major powers led by Obama about the upcoming nuclear talks with Iran. Netanyahu doesn't want talks. He wants bombs, just as long as somebody else is doing it. And basically, Netanyahu is implying that if Obama does not go along with his policy of an immediate attack on Iran, that he, Netanyahu, will make sure Obama does not become president for a second term. Sadly, it is a credible threat, which shows how subverted our government has become here. Now, Israel has gone out and said that they will attack Iran if the talks scheduled for May 23rd fail, with failure as defined by Israel, meaning any refusal by Iran to do as they're told, quit living in the 21st century, and go back to lighting their homes with burning camel dung. Israel doesn't want talks. Israel wants Iran destroyed, because ultimately the talks are simply going to underscore a very harsh reality Israel wants you to forget. Iran is playing by the rules. They signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They have a legal, internationally recognized right to peaceful uses of nuclear technology, such as power stations, medical isotopes, and industrial applications. And they are allowing all the legally mandated inspections by the IAEA, which have to date found no evidence of weaponization. Zero. Meanwhile, Israel, which has nuclear reactors and an established proven nuclear weapons factory, has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, does not allow inspections, has been caught trying to sell clandestine nuclear weapons to South Africa, with the very activity the NNPT is supposed to block. And yet Israel's out there screaming that Iran is the bad guy and you should go kill them. And the longer Iran avoids a war, the more the world comes to understand that Iran is the one playing by the rules here. And Israel is not. And sadly, corrupted by Israel, the United States is in violation of treaty obligations, because under Article 4 of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the United States is supposed to be inside Iran right now helping to build peaceful applications of nuclear power. The U.S. is supposed to be helping Iran build nuclear power stations. The U.S. is supposed to be helping Iran build medical isotope facilities. And if you're in there building these facilities, that is the best way on earth to document for all that no weaponization is going on. But Israel says, no, just stand back here and scream they're building bombs. And the U.S. is saying, all right, we'll just, hands off, we'll stand back here and scream they're building bombs and let them try and prove a negative. So that's kind of what's going on here. Meanwhile, tension between Israel and Egypt is starting to escalate. As you're probably aware, under Mubarak's rule, Israel had a sweetheart deal. They were getting about 40% of their natural gas needs from Egypt at below market prices. They were getting a steep discount. It's the same deal they had under the Shah of Iran. And that ended with that revolution, which is why Israel is telling the U.S., go bomb the Iranians and make them sell us oil and gas at cheap prices again. It's another motive for that war. So now it looks like Egypt, because of the continuing friction over Gaza and threats by Israel to reinvade the Sinai, Egypt has scrapped that gas supply deal. And Egypt is saying to Israel the same thing that Castro's Cuba said to the United States of America: we'll still sell you our product, but you got to pay the going market rate for it. And Israel today, just like the United States back when Castro said, yeah, you can buy our bananas and sugar at fair market prices, they're going to say, no, you can't do that. The gods we worship say you're supposed to just, loot your produce and your raw materials and your natural resources and just give them to us for pennies on the dollar. So that we, the American corporations or the Israeli corporations, can become richer than Midas. So basically, Egypt has scrapped that Israeli gas supply deal, and they're basically saying, if you want to buy the gas, we will sell it to you, but you're going to pay the same price anybody else would. And Israel is furious about that. And so, not surprisingly, we were hearing all these warnings over the weekend by Israel. Oh, yes, there are going to be terror attacks in the Sinai. There are going to be missile attacks in the Sinai. We may have to invade the Sinai in order to protect our people from missile attacks and to guarantee that we can go on starving the Gazan people. So look for a new Lavon affair. And if you don't know what I mean by that, the Lavon affair is something that happened back in the 1950s where British and American assets inside Egypt were being bombed. And evidence was being left all around to blame Egyptians for it. And then one of the bombs detonated prematurely. And they caught one of the bombers, and it turned out to be an Israeli agent. They caught him, red-handed, dead to rights. They had him. They had the bombs. He was scorched from it. They had all the evidence they needed. So what did Israel do? Oh, it's all an anti-Semitic plot. The evil people, they're lying about, we would never do anything like that. We're almighty Israel. And eventually Israel was forced to admit, all right, you caught us. It was our dirty trick. We're sorry. We won't do it ever again. And that came to be known as the Lavon affair. And whether they kept their promise or not, of course, is absurd because they did it again on the USS Liberty. They attacked the USS Liberty, and before the USS Liberty got out a message saying we're being attacked by Israel, Israel was saying, Egypt did it. We'll be right back after these commercials. In the coming weeks and months, when there is a big bang and the media is saying, oh yes, it's these people, we must go kill them, just ask yourself, why would they have done it? Why would Gaza fire rockets into Egypt when Egypt was helping them out? Why would Syria and Turkey be trading gunfire when they both share a common enemy, which is the United States and Israel coming in to take over their resources? After all the dirty tricks we have seen, after all the false flag attacks, fake terror, and all the rest of that stuff, never, ever, ever accept the original, the first offered official explanation for any of these actions, because it's going to be a lie. By the way, a little side note somebody sent me, little historical trivia. I was unaware of this, but I'm going to share it with you. In the last century, there have been 2 countries that made it a crime for Jews and non-Jews to marry. Only 2 countries. Nazi Germany was one, and Israel's the other one. Little interesting historical factoid I thought I would share with you.